Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 57 of the World of Sports podcast. I'm your host, Diego Sandoval, and joined with me, as always, is my co-host, Logan Ring. Logan, say what's up to the people.
What's up, everybody?
We've got a very fun episode for you. Every single sport is in full effect. The NFL is right in the middle of their season, week 7. Meanwhile, the NBA just tipped off a couple days ago. Teams tonight, it is Friday, October 22nd, by the way. Teams tonight are playing their third. I don't know if any team's playing their third game tonight, but, they're playing their first couple games this week. And then the MLB is in the LCS. Lots of exciting things happening on both sides. So we've got a lot to talk about for every single sport. Before we jump into it, follow us on all of our social media accounts, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. They could be linked down below, or head over to our Instagram, click the link in our bio, and you should find the links to everything. All right, let's kick it off with our NFL game picks this week. Now, for the first time, we had a difference in our Thursday night football pick. It was the Broncos versus the Browns. You chose the Browns. I chose the Broncos. The Browns pulled it out, with a depleted team. Baker was out. Their wide receivers were out. Their running backs were out. And they managed to win. Case Keenum came out and did it 17-10. I think that this game showed that the Browns are deep enough, but I think it mainly showed how the Broncos aren't a very good team.
Yeah.
And that 3-0 start is well in the rear view mirror.
Yeah. I'm a Browns fan, so I love that game. But if I was a Broncos fan, I would be so angry that they let the Browns win that without 5 of their best players. And the defense was all there. And the Browns have a really great defensive team. So yeah, it was hard to score on them, but they should not allow the Browns to have 5 plays in the first 2 minutes and score a touchdown. And that's just how the game started. And it was just kind of they had their chance and they just blew it. So I'm obviously very happy, but that just shouldn't happen as a Broncos organization, I guess.
Yeah. So you start out the week 1-0. I start 0-1. Quick recap. Last week I went 12-2. Logan, you went 11-3. We only had that 1 game difference, and I was able to get it. So I went up by 1. Now, after Thursday night's game, though, I am 69-26, and you are 67-28. So a two game difference there between you and I. And great records for both of us. We're going to keep saying it while we're still succeeding. These are very good records. So let's get into this week's matchups. The Kansas City Chiefs are taking on the Tennessee Titans, coming off of a very big win against the Buffalo Bills. I think this game is going to show a lot because the Titans have proven they can't stop anybody on defense, but they're still the Chiefs on offense. And meanwhile, the Titans have proven that, hey, nobody can stop Derrick Henry, but we don't have much else.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a very interesting game. I think it could honestly go either way, but I just think that the Chiefs scoring so much is going to force the Titans to throw more than they would like to. So I have the Chiefs winning this game. I just don't think the Titans are going to be able to run it all day like they were able to against the Bills.
Yeah, I got the Chiefs in this one too. I wouldn't be surprised if Derrick Henry goes off and goes for 200 something yards total. But I got to keep going with the Chiefs. It's really disappointing what's happening to them, but I feel like they still have it in them to be that amazing team that we know that they could be. And their defense has been terrible. I don't think it's going to step up this week or anything, but their offense is just so good, or at least can be so good. So yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs.
Yep. So I got the same pick there. Moving on. The Green Bay Packers are taking on the Washington football team. Who do you got in that one?
I got the Packers in this one. Washington football team's defense has been so bad this year, and it's been really disappointing, but the Packers, after a 1 bad game, have been really good since then. And I just think that they're a much better team overall. I don't think that they're going to be able to stop Aaron Rodgers, and he's obviously one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He's going to do what he's going to do. It could be a good game. I don't know, but it just seems like the Packers have this one.
Yeah, I think an Aaron Rodgers matchup against the worst defense in the NFL is a pretty clean pick, I'd say. So I'm going to go with the Packers as well in this one. Just, I mean, you said it, the potency of the Packers offense and just how bad the football team's defense has been. I think it's pretty safe. Moving on to a game that is going to be interesting, and I don't think many people would have told you that it would be interesting at this point in the season. A couple AFC North teams, the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, the Bengals have had a solid year so far, and I think a lot of people are surprised by that. They're 4-2, and they've won games. So you can't really say they've only allowed 111 points. That's very good. If you look at the other teams in their division, Ravens had allowed 123, Browns have allowed 165, and the Steelers have lost 132. And that's a division with very good defenses, and the Bengals have allowed the least amount of points. That being said, I think the Ravens are coming off the biggest win of the year. They absolutely stomped on the Chargers. Like, it wasn't close. I think with the Bills losing last week, and it's so early to say this, but I think right now the Ravens are probably the team to beat after last week's game in the AFC, at least. My Raiders handed them that loss, but anyways, I got the Ravens in this one.
Yeah, we talked about at the beginning of the year how like the Ravens, we thought that they had a higher ceiling than the Browns, even though it was really close between them. And it just seems like they've figured everything out. They've been so good the last few weeks. And they had a couple of shaky weeks to start, like against the Raiders, where they just weren't very good. But they've just been so good since then. And shout out to the Bengals. I mean, like you said, they're winning games. And I mean, that's all you can ask for. Their defense is a lot better than I thought it would be. But I can't go against the Ravens in this one. I think that they're a deeper team. I just think that they match up well too, and I just don't see them losing this.
Yeah, one of my least favorite narratives in the NFL is that Lamar Jackson isn't a good quarterback because he can't throw as well as some quarterbacks. But when you're top 10 in the NFL in passing and rushing yards, like all around, like including running backs, you're one of the best. Like, you can't, there's no debating that. And
yeah,
I mean, he went out, what was it? It wasn't last week, it was the week before. He threw for like 450 yards. Like, he can throw the ball.
Yeah.
Like, this guy is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Moving on to a matchup that might be, I'm just not excited for this matchup at all. The Carolina Panthers taking on the New York Giants. Who do you have in that one?
I got the Panthers in this one, and I don't think the Panthers are a bad team. It's the Giants are just not good, and I'm not excited for this one either. I'm not gonna lie, I have not watched a single Giants game this year, but it's just not exciting really. But hey, I mean, the Panthers have won some games, and I mean, I don't think they're bad, like I just said. So I don't have a ton to say. Just I think the Giants are gonna lose basically.
Yeah, I mean, the Panthers have had a similar season to the Broncos that we just talked about them. Beat the Jets, Saints, and Texans first 3 weeks, and then they've lost to the Cowboys, Eagles, Vikings since. So I don't think they're as good as we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season, but also the Giants are just not in a good place right now as an organization. Way too many injuries to just go on top of the fact that they aren't a good team to start with. So I'm also going with the Panthers in this one. Another matchup that I'm definitely not excited to watch, and I probably won't be tuning into most of it. The Atlanta Falcons taking on the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins probably up there with the biggest disappointments of this season. They just have been bad, and you can credit it to Tua's injury, but even with Tua, they haven't looked great. They lost to the Jaguars. I mean, and then the Falcons really haven't impressed many people either. But that being said, I'm going to go with Atlanta in this one.
Yeah, same. The Falcons defense is disgusting, but the Dolphins have just been really disappointing, like you said. And yeah, if you're losing to the Jaguars, that's not a good sign. But yeah, they haven't even had a hard matchups this year, and they just have not been good at all. So yeah, another one I'm not super excited for, but I'll go with the Falcons.
Maybe 10 years ago, this would have been a matchup of two of the top teams. To this year, it is a matchup of some of the worst. The New England Patriots taking on the New York Jets. Like, the Patriots are such a weird team because Belichick is always going to keep you in games just because he's such a good coach and he knows how to win. But just the team and the roster the Patriots have doesn't, them and winning just doesn't go together well. And then they get to play the Jets. So it's just a battle of two teams that don't have much going for them this season. Mac Jones has actually looked pretty good for the Patriots. I'll give him that. Zach Wilson, I don't even know what to think of Zach Wilson. It should be, I guess it's fun, battle of rookie quarterbacks. I'm going to go with the Patriots in this one, but it's another matchup that is looking like it might get messy.
Yeah, in my opinion, I feel like the Patriots in 5 years are going to be great again somehow, just because that's what they do. And I think Mac Jones he's shown a lot of potential. And obviously with Bill Belichick, I mean, I think you're going to eventually find how to win. But yeah, this is also just like the Jets are terrible. So I'm going to go with the team that's coached really well and has at least some promising players, honestly. So yeah, I got the Patriots.
Yeah, moving on, we have the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. We talked about the Raiders last week, coming off of a week where John Gruden was let go because of bad things. And we basically said it could either go really well or really poorly. And it went really well for the Raiders. That they, I think, I don't know if they came in as underdogs. They might have. I don't remember. But I mean, they pretty much dominated that game against the Broncos. And as we said earlier, the Broncos probably aren't the best team. But that's what you have to do. You got to dominate against the teams you're supposed to dominate against. And they did that. I'm really impressed. As a Raiders fan, I watched that whole game. So I was really impressed with just the way the team played with a new coaching system, kind of a new play caller. I like what I saw. And the Eagles have been shaky this year. They're just not, they don't have a lot going for them. They got blown out by the Cowboys, kind of stayed in it with the Chiefs. They beat the Panthers by a field goal. They're one of the bottom teams in my opinion, so I'm going to go with the Raiders in this one.
Yeah, the Eagles were a very promising team in week 1. And since
the
then,
Falcons.
It's just not been good at all. And the Raiders, I was impressed with last week what they did. That's a lot going on in an organization to just come out and basically just dominate. And I think that shows a lot for that team. So I don't think they're going to have a ton of problem with, winning against a team that's not very good at all. That being said, I mean, I could see it being at least close. So it's not just a nothing week, but yeah, I think the Raiders got it.
Yeah. Moving on to a team that I think it will be a nothing week, and this will be a steamrolling. The Los Angeles Rams are taking on the Detroit Lions. We don't really have to say much about it. I've got the Rams.
Yeah, I got a prediction later for this one, but you got to go with the Rams.
Yeah. Another one that could be a lock, but I mean, unless you're a true Justin Fields believer, the Buccaneers taking on the Chicago Bears. Another pretty easy pick in my opinion. Going to go with the Bucs.
Yeah, not a ton to add. I do like. I think Justin Fields has shown some potential. He's been very shaky in other starts too, so it's not a week that I just don't want to watch at all. I think it'd be exciting to watch some of it. But you're going against the greatest quarterback of all time. I'm not picking a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, he's going to get tested. It's a really good defense for the Bucs. I mean, really talented defense. They've had some struggles putting it together, but the talent's obviously there. If you didn't pick the Rams and Lions as your lock of the week, go ahead and pick the Cardinals over the Texans, because the Cardinals are the best team in football right now, and the Texans may just be the worst.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all you need to say. Okay, some more interesting games. 49ers taking on the Colts, Sunday Night Football. 49ers coming off a bye week. Colts coming off of a win, I do believe. They dominated the Texans 31-3. They went to overtime against the Ravens a week prior. Meanwhile, the 49ers, like I said, coming off a bye week, the week before, they played a good game against the Cardinals, lost 17-10, and then lost to the Seahawks 28-21. The 49ers have played very good games against good opponents. And the Colts have looked better than their record shows. So this is an interesting game. I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, this is one that I was kind of hard to pick between them. It's not like it's a super exciting matchup, but I think it'll be fun because they're pretty closely, like, I guess, in the standings or whatever, how talented they are, in my opinion. And I'm going to go with the 49ers in this one. We've talked about how they're just always in games. And like you just said, like against good opponents, they don't just like get blown out ever, it seems like. So it could go both ways. The Colts are not a bad team. They're not great either, but I feel like the 49ers just have something in them. I don't know what it is as an organization or what, but I just feel like they're always in games like this. And I feel like they can pull it out.
Yeah, I'm also going with the Niners. I think off of the bye week, they're getting Jimmy Garoppolo back, which it sucks to see Trey Lance kind of just be sitting there. Kyle Shanahan, for some reason, just doesn't like him. I don't know if the organization picked him in the draft without even consulting Kyle Shanahan, but every time he talks about Trey Lance, he's basically just like, oh yeah, he's a backup quarterback. So that's kind of disappointing. But I think Jimmy fits better with the Kyle Shanahan offense, kind of run, and then I'll throw a deep ball or something. So I'm also going to go with the 49ers. We have the same picks except for Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
Monday Night Football is the New Orleans Saints taking on the Russell Wilson-less Seattle Seahawks. And I think the Russell Wilson-less Seattle Seahawks are not a good football team. Like, they're just not at all. He was really the only hope they had to keep them in a playoff race. So I'm going to go with the Saints.
Yeah. Who did the Seahawks play last week?
They played the Steelers. It was a terrible game.
It was a lot closer than I thought. Oh, the Steelers.
Because it was a terrible game between two bad teams.
Yeah. You can't. The Saints are one of my least favorite teams to predict. I've said it before, just because they've been really inconsistent. But I'm not gonna bet on a team to lose against a team that doesn't have Russell Wilson, who has like the worst defense in the league. It's just not what I'm gonna do. So yeah, the Saints. I mean, maybe it'll be interesting because they could try to beat themselves somehow because they've played terribly some weeks. But I still got to go with them.
Yeah. So yeah, we have all the same picks for the Sunday and Monday night games.
Secured the better record for this week, I guess.
You did. Good job. Teams on bye this week: Bills, Cowboys, Jaguars, Chargers, Vikings, Steelers. The biggest bye week of the year. So RIP to fantasy football managers who have guys from those teams. And RIP our graphic. It's just going to look like a bunch of teams on bye. So that'd be fun. Anyways, moving on to our bold predictions. Going back to that Packers Washington football team game, I think Aaron Rodgers has a big day. Again, one of the worst, if not the worst defenses in the league. And Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. I think he throws for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns in that game. Big game from AA Ron.
Yeah, I have a prediction for that matchup too. Mine is that they both score 30 plus in this one. And the Packers defense
you love the both score 30 plus.
It's easy to predict, and also like sometimes it actually works, and usually my bold predictions are just awful. So yeah. I'm going with it for I think like the 3rd week in a row.
Yeah, it didn't work last week when you had the Chargers scoring 30 points.
Yeah, it did not. It did not at all. And the Washington football team is not like their offense is fantastic.
No, they're good.
So,
but they're good. They're solid.
So that's why I feel like it still is a bold prediction because like the Packers, yes, I do think they're going to get 30. I would bet on that like in real life. I'm not going to, but
not like allowed. The Washington You're in California.
Like it could see it happening. So maybe, who knows? But yeah.
Moving on, my second bold prediction is from the Monday Night Football game. I think the Seahawks score single digits. I think they get held under 10 points. that Saints defense is legit. We've seen flashes. Like you said, the Saints are just a flat, like a, hey, we're good. No, we're not. Hey, yeah, maybe. Not really. I think that this defense shows up on Monday night and the Seahawks just can't get it going with Geno Smith.
Yeah, my last one is from that Rams-Lions game. And I'm doing something that you've done before where I just predict an absolute blowout. I'm going with the Rams beat the Lions by 30 in this one. I know you predicted some game before where they would do 30.
I'm 2 for 2 on those. I predicted Rams win by 25 last week and they won by like 30. And then I had like week 4 or something. I had the Bills winning by 30 and they won by like 40.
They won by 40. But yeah, I could definitely see this happening. I think we didn't even give like any analysis on it because it's like, yeah, the Rams are just so much better than the Lions. Yeah. So I could just see it being an insane blowout. We'll see though.
Yeah, that's what we got on NFL Week 7. Stay tuned on our Instagram for that graphic. You can comment your picks, what you disagree with, stuff like that. Let's go with the NBA. So okay. NBA season kicked off. It is the 75th season in NBA history, which is exciting. Before we get into what they've done for the 75th team, I feel like it's worth mentioning the Ben Simmons saga is still going on. If you missed it, so he showed up to their, it was a couple days before the season started, showed up to practice, and there were videos of him just not even trying. You could tell he didn't want to be there at all. So whatever, those videos came out. Everyone basically said, what is he doing there? And then a report, he missed opening night. And then a report came out that said he showed up to practice and then just turned around and left. And then there was a report that came out that he's dealing with an injury. And now he's saying he's not mentally ready to play. And now tonight, before their home opener, Joel Embiid made an announcement to the crowd and basically said, Ben is still our brother and he's still a part of the team. So really, we have no idea what is going on.
Yeah, it's becoming harder and harder to see this from Ben's side and think like he's completely in the right. I can understand how he's super frustrated. I would be too. Like if you put yourself in his shoes, like Philadelphia is going to boo you every single time you touch the ball in their arena now, even if you play for them. So like nobody wants that. And obviously he's going through a rough time right now. Like he played a terrible series and I'm sure he's hard on himself. But man, he is not really going at this the right way at all, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah.
Where he's just cutting off his teammates. Like this whole Ben Simmons saga, as we've called it now, because it's so long, it's just nothing is seeming to happen at all. It's just like it keeps dragging on and dragging on, and he's not doing anything good. Like I don't know. If you want to get traded, show that you can play well again, and taking out your like frustration on your teammates, like Joel Embiid, obviously I don't know their relationship totally, but from what it seems like they've always been friendly with each other. Yes, the fit was a little bit weird, but they've always been like good teammates to one another. And he's said that he's reached out and Ben Simmons just basically ghosted everyone. And now he's going into practice and just, you've seen the videos, like he's not even like in a team huddle. He like doesn't put his hand in to say like Sixers on 3 or whatever.
It's not good.
It's just not, it's not good at all. And he's coming up with these excuses like, oh, my back hurts. You didn't practice. Like, how does your back hurt? Like, I mean, maybe, but it's just weird. And like, he said he's not mentally ready to play. And that one, I kind of understand. I mean, you could see all the pressure that's on him, but
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, he's going to get traded at some point.
Yeah, especially with his contract. The contract is for multiple more seasons. And yeah. I just can't see a world where he's on this team past this season.
Yeah.
So look for that. The only other main storyline so far, Kyrie Irving isn't going to play like until something drastic changes, it looks like. So I guess prepare for a season without Kyrie Irving until he changes his mind, which we've seen is hard to do with Kyrie Irving. But yeah. Let's move on to what we wanted to talk about, or what I want to talk about, is the NBA 75th anniversary team. So if you missed it, they basically unveiled this list of what they called the 75 best players in NBA history. From any era. And it was, I'm really not sure do you know how they made this team? Was it like a panel that voted?
I heard on like the TNT crew that like Shaq was saying how they voted or something. So
Maybe they had like the players union or something.
Maybe something like that.
I'm sure they got lots of input for it.
Right.
So like, I'm sure it's not like people are feeling like, oh, why didn't my opinion get counted? But basically it was the 75 greatest players of all time. And they got most of it right. Like it's really, they included all the guys that you feel like, okay, for sure. But in my opinion, as well as others, they definitely missed here or there. And I was talking about, I was thinking about this earlier. Like, I really cannot speak on guys like, I don't even know, like
Jerry Lucas,
Bill Sharman, Dolph Skays. Like, I can't speak on them. So it's like, it'd be tough to me to say, oh, just kick him off the list because I know nothing about him.
Right.
But what I can say is that Dwight Howard deserves to be on this list.
Absolutely, yeah.
And out of guys I do know, I think Dwight Howard deserves it more than Damian Lillard. I think Dwight Howard deserves it more than Anthony Davis. That's just two.
Yeah.
But like Dwight Howard, I feel like he's been a victim of kind of the, oh, you've been playing for so long, so now people only think of you as the player you are right now kind of thing, where people are forgetting he was like far and away the best defensive player and the best center in the NBA in his prime, which lasted like 5 years. Like he was the best in the league at what he did for 5 years.
Yeah. He's in the spot that you were just talking about where like he's still playing, so he's not retired, and people don't like look at him as a retired player. Well, this is what you accomplished. They look at him as like, this is what you are right now, and I'm just going to not highlight that fact that you were one of the greatest players in the game at one point. And that's a really weird mindset for people to have, but somehow it happens. And there's a lot of retired players that don't like Dwight Howard, like Shaq, for some reason, just absolutely hates Dwight because he played in Orlando and he was really good, and he got mad that he took the Superman name, and he's also very petty. I love Shaq, but he's very petty.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just going to list off some of the accomplishment Dwight Howard had. So this man's an 8-time All-Star. He's a 5-time rebound champ, 2-time block champ. He won the NBA Finals in 2020 with the Lakers. 8-time All-NBA. 5 of those were first team. That means he was the best center in the league for 5 years. Not a lot of people can say that. 5-time All-Defensive and 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. That is a top 75 resume. That's probably a top 50 resume in my opinion. Yeah. And he just gets so disrespected, and it's really confusing. I don't want to like say like, oh, he deserved it over this guy who's like an old player or whatever. One person I will just put in there just to like compare someone is Hal Greer. I just looked him up right now. I've heard of him before, but like the man played from 1958 to 1973. You can't really compare those eras that much, but like he was a 10-time All-Star, so he has two more than that. He was 1-time NBA champ and an All-Star MVP, and that's all of his accomplishments, which is like obviously great. He's in the Hall of Fame, but like a guy like Dwight Howard, I really do believe deserves it to be in there over him.
Yeah, and Dwight in 2009 took his team to the NBA Finals.
Yeah,
like without Dwight Howard, we would have seen LeBron versus Kobe. Like Dwight Howard is a integral part of NBA history, and I think that's what they were trying to do with this team, is get these guys who, without them, the NBA wouldn't be the same. And Dwight Howard, he was the best in the world at his position for a span of 5 years, and he won these awards. He took his team this far. I think that he's done enough and proved that without him, the NBA would have been a different landscape.
Yeah. And I think some people might find this terrible that I'm going to say this right now, but like him and Allen Iverson, I feel like have a comparable type of career with all that they accomplished. Not that Allen Iverson had a way bigger impact on the league. I'm not saying that because he like straight up impacted the league more than like
The most. It was
99.9%
like
of people.
it's like Jordan and then Allen Iverson, I would
Yeah,
say.
for real. So I understand why he's on the list over him. Obviously, I'm not saying Allen Iverson should drop at all. He's like a top 30 player or whatever. But Dwight Howard's resume is up there with a guy like him. He's accomplished close to that much. He has not won an MVP, but he's done everything else. One of the greatest defensive players of all time. Allen Iverson is one of the best offensive players of all time. Like, if you're in that conversation with a guy like that, and a lot of people don't ever talk about that at all, which like it's a weird comparison. I understand that, but like there's no reason why he should not be on this list.
Mm-hmm. The other guys that people were talking about, Klay Thompson, which I mean, depending on how you look at it, Klay could be considered a top 3 shooter of all time. So, value shooting as you want to, but
yeah,
maybe a top 3 shooter should be in the top 75 players. The only thing is, it's different with Klay because it's pretty much Klay shoots threes, like that's what he does. So
yeah,
how much do you value that as one of the best players ever? That can be debated.
yeah. In my opinion, I just feel like he needs more counting stats and more years.
Yeah,
Like I think
exactly.
he's absolutely going to get there, but he's played what 7 seasons so far.
Something like that.
Yeah, 7 or 8 seasons so far, and then he's got the 2 injured seasons. But like, you need a little bit more than that. All that he's accomplished in that time is amazing, but he needs a little more time.
A couple of former teammates, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady. I think talent-wise, they're 2 of the 75th most talented players in the NBA, but they're just not as accomplished, I think, as people think. Vince Carter, 8 All-Stars, 2 All-NBA teams, and he was a Rookie of the Year. Like, phenomenal career. How many years did he play? Like the most ever? What was it? 20 something. Like great career. I don't know if he necessarily belongs in here just based off of how good he was, but that's another way of, yeah, but he was like the first one to do flashy dunks. Like it's like, where do you value stuff like that? And then the one that you may have some tie to is Kyrie Irving. I don't know. It's really tough to say because, I mean, first of all, Andre Iguodala said Kyrie was a top 20 player all time. He can get out of there with that because Kyrie, I think, is top 15, maybe even you could argue top 20 right now in the NBA, like players playing right now. He's not one of the top 20 all time. I can guarantee that. But how do you feel about Kyrie missing this list?
I mean, I love Kyrie for like one side of him with all that he's done and for his start in Cleveland and the high points of Cleveland. We don't have to talk about the low points, but I mean, he's one of the most skilled players of all time. I just don't think he's really in that conversation yet. And people love Kyrie because of how exciting of a player he is. I mean, I think has the best ball handling skills of all time. And I don't think that's crazy to say. Like he is absolutely insane. He's so fun to watch. He's an NBA champion. He hit one of the biggest shots of all time.
I was gonna say he is one of the most iconic shots in NBA history. Like it's pretty much on. I mean, it's not on par, but it's up there with, Jordan's 6th ring game winner. Like that. Like those are 2 shots that won NBA Finals.
Yeah, but like, do you think he's a better player than Damian Lillard? Because I don't.
No, he's not.
Yeah, and is he more exciting? Maybe. I mean, you can argue that, whatever. But as a player, I don't think he deserves to be on this list. Maybe at the end of his career, if you're talking about a player who's playing right now, I don't think it's disrespectful to not put him in a list like this because the other guys had their chance to have their whole entire career so far. If you're even in that conversation, then that's amazing at this point. But maybe he'll get there. I think that there's a really good chance he could be, just not yet.
I said it earlier, and you kind of went like this with your head. Would you, if you had to, choose, all right, these are the 75th guy, Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis.
Yeah, that is
Who
really
do you
hard.
go with? Because you look at it, both 8-time All-Stars, both 2020 champs. AD 4-time All-Defensive Team, Dwight Howard 5. AD doesn't have a Defensive Player of the Year. Dwight Howard has 3. But then again, I don't know if they took into account the fact that guys are younger and they've already accomplished this. But where do you stand on it? Because I think just if we're talking the best players in the last 75 years of the NBA, I think Dwight Howard is above Anthony Davis.
Yeah, that's a really, really hard one because you're going with AD probably has a higher peak right now, but Dwight Howard undoubtedly has the resume if you're talking about the whole career. But also you can say, oh yeah, AD's not done yet or whatever. Dwight Howard isn't either, but AD's still like in his prime.
Right.
I've never thought about that, but I think Dwight right now probably should be in there over AD. I think they both deserve to be in there. But if we're just talking about that,
right,
then yeah, I'd take Dwight Howard,
I think, and I'd also take Dwight Howard over Damian Lillard, and I'd also take Anthony Davis over Damian Lillard. So I think out of the guys that are playing now, the one that I would boot would probably be Damian Lillard.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you look at the guys, Giannis is staying. Melo, obviously. Steph, AD, we just talked about. Kevin Durant, James Harden. I think he stays. LeBron, Kawhi, and then Dame. And
Yeah.
Chris Paul's there. And Westbrook. And that's it. Out of the current guys, I think Dame is the lowest on the list.
Yeah, and if he had one playoff run where he won a championship, that would boost it so much.
Absolutely.
But he hasn't won like an MVP. He hasn't made it to the finals. He's been one of the best players in the league for like 7 or 8 years or whatever.
Right.
But
he's been a top 15 player in the NBA for his entire prime, which is phenomenal. Like that's really good. But I don't think it's enough to get you on this list if you don't have any other accolades.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about with that list? I kind of got everything I was looking for.
I think one thing is just people love to argue, and this would never make anybody happy.
Exactly.
I think it's fun to argue about this sort of, or not argue, but talk about this sort of thing with other people. So I'm not saying like don't, but like people take this so seriously and it really does not matter. So yeah, that's it.
Dude, I saw people like for whatever reason, people were like attributing the day, like because they released the players in like 3 different days. And I think like LeBron, Kobe, and Shaq, I think they were all part of day 3. And people in the comments were like, oh, they left Mickey James for the 3rd day because they knew he was like the lowest tier out of these players. and I'm like, dude, it's not that serious. Like, come on.
God.
But yeah,
some people, man.
I really like it, and I hope they do more stuff this season. I think they will for this 75th anniversary. I think it's fun, especially for maybe not newer fans, but maybe just like more casual fans can learn more about the history of basketball and, get more educated when it comes to things like, comparing this player to this player, who are the best of all time, actually. I think it's fun. So I like what the NBA is doing. I also think that commercial is a banger with Michael B. Jordan. But yeah, that's what we got for the NBA. Moving on to our final segment. The MLB playoffs are currently going on. Like literally there's a game going on right now. We are in the ALCS and NLCS. In the American League, which the Boston Red Sox just got their first base hit in the top of the 6th inning. Kike Hernandez triple. Shout out Kike. Love it. Right now, the Houston Astros lead that series 3-2 and are up 1-0 tonight. So if they win this game in Houston, they will be going to the World Series. Just my main takeaway is that this Astros offense is, I mean, we talked about it in the divisional series too. they're unstoppable. Like you really can't hold them to anything.
Yeah, I mean, half the time they're going to put up like 9 runs, and that's what we've seen throughout the whole playoffs and the end of the regular season too. Their pitching has been solid. I mean, not great. The Red Sox offense.
The Red Sox are a very good offense too. So,
yeah, so like the offense has gotten to them a couple times, but overall their pitching has been okay, and their offense is so good that doesn't really matter.
right, their pitching has been good enough to withstand what their offense can do.
Yeah, and this series has kind of gone the way that I was expecting, where there were going to be some games where a team scores like 12 runs. And that's happened just because these offenses are so good. It's been a really exciting series, though. There's been some really standout like players so far, like Kike Hernandez, like you said. I'm sure that's kind of bittersweet, but like it's
I
nice
love
to
it.
see Kike going
yeah.
off.
I mean, I wish the Dodgers had that type of offense, but it's great to see. He left the Dodgers to have an everyday type role, and he's making the most of it. But yeah, the Red Sox team is, I mean, really nobody thought they were going to be contenders. I think like if you told me at the beginning of the season they would be in the ALCS, I wouldn't have believed you. So I think this is a great season for the Red Sox, no matter how it ends. And yeah, we'll see. But right now, the Astros are up 1-0 in the bottom of the sixth with a chance to clinch.
Yeah.
Now moving over to the National League side of the bracket, the Atlanta Braves are up 3-2 on the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Familiar.
It's pretty familiar. It was 3-1. As a Dodge, I've said this on the podcast, so I'm not going to go too far in it. Offensively, this team has been way too streaky for my liking this season. All season, the regular season, they would have stretches where they'd score 2 to 3 runs a game, but it didn't matter because their pitching has been so good. And that's what we've seen against the Braves. This offense has not performed at all. And then they come out game 5 and just drop 11 runs. Chris Taylor turns into the greatest hitter of all time. I think we had like 17 hits. So I'm hoping that's a sign for going forward. The Braves, Eddie Rosario is, I mean, why did you guys have to give him to the Braves?
I can't justify anything
I blame that on
Cleveland Guardians do. I don't know at this point. We gave him up for nothing too.
You got the panda,
in which I think he got like 2 at bats.
The Braves have looked really good. Like that offense has just been the opposite of the Dodgers. It's been consistent. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself.
I know what you're thinking.
The Dodgers have Buehler and Scherzer game 6 and 7. It's in Atlanta, so that's going to be tough. I'm not giving up on this team. I still think this team has a legit shot, but I'd truly be lying to you if I said that this team is the same as last year's team.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to say it because you're a Dodgers fan, right? But like, I mean, it could very well happen. I know you don't want to jinx anything, but like they came back from a 3-1 lead last year. It could happen. They need to win 2 games in a row. Okay. That's what has to happen. That's not a crazy concept. I'm going to go with the Braves still winning this series. Okay. I'm not saying that's what I want to happen. I don't really care. I just want to see good baseball, honestly. But this has been a really fun series so far, and the Braves have shown that they're a really good team. I have a couple friends who are making the excuse like, "Oh, the Dodgers are injured."
So are the Braves.
Yes.
It's not
So
an excuse.
The Braves' best player is injured, and like the Dodgers still have like 12 all-stars like healthy. Okay, the Dodgers should be really, really good, and they are really, really good. But you've said it; they're really streaky on offense right now. But yeah, they got Scherzer and Buehler for game 6 and 7. I don't know who else I would rather have for that. And they have been okay, not great so far this playoffs, which is really weird, but we know what they have in them. And I mean, they've had a couple bad innings, but like we know what they're capable of. So yeah, this would really suck for the Braves if they blew it twice in a row. I know what it's like to blow it one time. So we'll see, but this is two really fun series so far.
It makes me more and more nervous every time I see a meme about the Braves blowing a lead, because I feel like every meme just adds fuel to the fire that it's not going to happen. So it's just like, let's just chill out. Like let's get to game 7. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get to game 7.
Yeah.
Because really, game 7, we know anything can happen. The Braves still have a cushion right now, but game 7, everything's on the table. But please don't put Julio on the mound, because he has been lit up by this Braves team. Yeah, I mean, 2 great series. I think we talked about it last week. It's a powerhouse versus a Cinderella. Dodgers, Braves, Astros, Red Sox.
Yeah.
We'll see how it ends up. Again, a lot of baseball to be played. I'm really excited for. Obviously, I'm rooting for the Dodgers, but I think any of these World Series matchups would be great.
Yeah, I would love to see the Braves in the World Series. I think that would be like awesome. And then the Dodgers versus one of the teams that they lost to.
Yeah,
lost to.
Lost
at
to
least one
for
of them.
both of them, kind of. Definitely the Astros. The Red Sox were cheating, but nothing gets said about that. So
I think it's so funny that Alex Cora is the manager of the Red Sox and has to hear his own fans yell cheater to the Astros while the Red Sox also cheated and he was the manager of the Astros. I just think that's funny, but yeah, the battle of the cheaters. I don't know how the Red Sox get away with it, but they do. But yeah.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
It has been fun, and it will continue to be fun in the next couple of weeks when all 3 of our sports are playing at the same time. It's the best time of year, as they say. That's all we got for you. Thank you so much for listening. Go check us out on all of our social medias, as always. Give us your World Series predictions, or give us your snubs from the NBA 75th anniversary team. We'd love to hear it. It's been great. It's been fun. If you stayed this long, we love you. And yeah, this has been the World of Sports podcast. And for my co-host, Logan Ring, my name is Diego Sandoval, signing off.
Signing off.